you today. I have something amazing to show you on the chart today about this incredible wave. Like, wow, that is unusual. That occurred on the chart. I want to talk to you about two different realities that I'm seeing and that have been very evident on the chart in recent days. But first, if you could like the video, subscribe to my channel, please, and share the video if it resonates with you, that would be wonderful. Thank you for doing that. Also, my human energy class is starting this week. If I emailed you, if you had expressed interest, you have an email from me. It looks like almost everybody is signed up. So if you haven't responded, you can get back to me. There's still one spot left for those who have, connected with me. Okay, so let's check this out. It's so amazing, isn't it? Look at the shapes that are in this. Let's look at a couple of key things in the images, and then I'll look at the black charts with you. One of the obvious things here is the technological effect occurring before this wave turns on. We don't know if it's occurring underneath it or not, because the natural energy is so powerful and strong. If it is still occurring, it's in the background and can't be seen. The other interesting thing about the technological effect is, look, it really isn't present in a big way in the very low hertz. So this is about 4 hertz and lower. Just so you know, the hertz of the Schumann resonance does correspond with human brain waves. And so when I talk about the hertz, I'll probably also relate it to human brain waves at times. It's one of the many ways that I look at the chart and different tools or techniques I use. So today, what I feel the chart is showing us is some information about two realities. And let me show you another couple of key features. We have the warping on the chart again, where the lines go kind of at an angle. And you see that here, even here with this line. It also occurred like this again before one of the other recent white waves on the chart. I feel like this warping, I don't know, it's almost like a flexing between potential realities, because we're here at key choice points for each of us individually as humans. I am going to keep the focus on the personal today, and the external world I'm going to talk about broadly. And this is one of the things I'm really looking forward to with my Rumble channel. Once I start doing videos like exclusive to Rumble, to be able to talk a little bit more about these things. But if you haven't checked me out there, please come over, like, and subscribe to that as well. Okay, now the other prominent thing on the chart were these two this wispy image, right, with a lot of red and some yellow. And then this image here of the yellow and red in this is about 8 hertz and this is in the teens. If you remember, if you've been looking at this Schumann for some time, there have been times where we have seen this frequently on the chart. And I've often compared it with, the chakra system of the human. So this would be the head. This would be, either heart or solar plexus. But at times, especially when it gets flattened like this, because at times the energy is more in round balls, but now it's very flat. At times it's also seemed, just before I name this, the dogs start barking. It cracks me up. They're so good. They're so good at protection. Violet flame, declaring a space of sacred discharge. It looks like an archonic energy. And what is that? It's a type of energy of the forces of darkness that operate in the human world through human beings mostly. And dogs don't like them. Okay, let's move on. The other really potent thing about this chart, and it's been going on for days, is that the hertz are lit up across the hertz range to 40, and you have all this lighting up in the high hertz here of the chart, which would be the mid 30s to high 30s. So this is where our connection with the spiritual comes into play. That's the gamma brainwaves. There's another really interesting thing going on here. Do you see this? The black line at the top of the chart is much more separated from the top of the chart. See that all the way across the chart? And this is something that's been going on for several days. And it has also coincided with these deep blue spaces here with much less activity. So I'm just going to send a little message to that dog, a little telepathic message. Okay, so I'm just clearing the space. I'm bringing in the angels. It was concerned about the energy. Okay, so I'm just raising up the energy here, where I'm talking and focusing on the chart. So I'm talking from a higher dimensional state and not... what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this, but I'm going to put a blue light over it, and that'll make the dogs more comfortable. So you can use light, you can use the Christ light when you work with technology. This is something I've talked about before, and I want to stay focused on the stories today. But by putting, see how that just worked? Okay, that this stuff really works. Working with energy affects the physical, and acknowledging and considering other beings in our environment, whether they're in the physical or not, affects the physical world. So this stuff is real, and but you can put a cover over your computer. Like I usually use blue light I ask Archangel Michael to cover my computer and only allow transmissions through that are in alignment with the highest good. So that's what I've shifted to very clearly. I have that as a regular program when I do work. When I say program, I mean for my energy field and my interaction with technology. But the dog wanted me to highlight it and focus on it, maybe as a teaching moment here. So the other thing is you can imbue your technology with, you can use white light, the Christ light. Okay, you can use the divine light. Other colors are fine too, if that's what resonates with you. Green is a great energy for technology. Archangel Raphael, in my view, has dominion over all technologies. And that's his color. But when you ask for the assistance, right, of this higher expanded light, you do it in a way that honors the technology. In other words, what I do is I set parameters that... this will be in alignment with my highest good. And I ask my guides of the highest light, I ask my higher self, I ask Archangel Michael to work with me to make it so that the computer can handle this expanded energy, okay? Because I don't know if you've ever been on like a Skype call or a phone call or a Zoom call or whatever, and you bring the energy really expanded if you're talking with someone and the technology cuts out. So by using this kind of technique, you can also assist the technology to handle a more expanded energy environment, right? Because as humans, we can really amp up our dimensional states, okay? So now I've probably lost anyone who's not interested in these woo-woo topics. It's pretty funny, isn't it? Okay, so, all right, so here we are. Let's keep going. And I taught that to someone earlier. In fact, I taught that to a lady who has a Christian background. And what we did was we imbued the computers with the Christ light. as a mechanism of protection. And you can even use this mechanism. One second. You can even use this mechanism as a protection for transmissions that attempt to approach your computer to disallow what is not in alignment with your highest good. Okay. So let's move on here. We talked about technology. We talked about the key factors here. Okay, let's just talk about what's amazing here. What is amazing here? Okay, first of all, you have these bulbous forms. I mean, it's phenomenal. You have almost like a circle here, and this is unusual, this high up in the chart. Let me show you. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's make it like purple. Okay, so, excuse me. You see the circle-ish nature of this here? That high up in the chart, it's really unusual to have that. And these lines to be filled with light, okay, this high up in the chart, like right here, that's less usual as well. Let's look at what number we're looking at here. Okay, you can see here we're at 24, and we're getting this bulb in the chart. You know, we've been seeing up to 24 lighting up in previous white resonance waves that have occurred in January and February. And when I say wave, I'm using the term loosely because they haven't been the normal type pouring out wave that we see in the spring more. But to me, what this says is that there's a huge awakening happening in humanity, okay? But in our conscious thought, our analytical, our integrating thinking with our being, we are shifting how we view the world and rethinking how we have viewed the world. And that's what's happening with this imbuement of light and big like bulbous. How do I pronounce that? Bulbous? I don't know. Expansion of the white resonance in this higher, like at 24. And then it's interesting because you also have in the high 20s here. See, look at this. Okay, you have this interesting and weird, yellowish and red energy. Look at that little E there. Look at the letter E standing out. It's almost like an E T here, but there's other possible letters here as well. Because you've got like an L, you've got whatever. But anyway, you know what this looks like to me? This looks like a little genie in the bottle here. I don't know if you can tell, if you can see it. Let me make it a little bigger. Let me say what I see here, okay? All right, so I see black eye, nose, and little pointy black beard, okay? And here's his long head with a little tuft of hair on the top, like a genie. And here's a white hand, and his arms are crossed, like in front of him, like a genie would be. And then he kind of has like, I don't know if this is a snake tail or this is just energy flowing off of him because he's not in physical form. He's like a wisp of energy that turned into a head and a chest and arms. And is this his little genie bottle that he came out of? I don't know. So to me, how I read this message is there's a genie in the bottle, like there's a genie out of the bottle. Like what surprise magical thing might come up, right? That is a little bit suspect, right? Because genies are suspect. I'm not talking about I Dream of Jeannie, right? She was like adorable. If you've ever seen that old TV show. But genies are usually presented as having a trickster element to them. And I say this with respect, that the trickiness of the wishes, right? When one interacts with the genie, one doesn't know what one's going to get. So one has to be careful. So any suspicious environments, any suspicious where you don't know what the truth is, I would really consider making any strong assertions here. And this is one of the reasons why I'm going to stick to the general themes of energy, because the external environment right now is we just don't know what's true. And I'm not gonna make bets on stuff that I don't know what's true. And I'll tell you what is true. What's true is not this kind of energy, okay? And by the way, this energy, we just don't know. Is it a force for, could it somehow bring about good? Is it a force for the shadow? I just don't know. I'd rather attempt to not be ensnared in its tricks and games. I want to show you something here. I have a little presentation I'm making for you guys. It's really cool, but for right now, I'm going to not talk about this because I just want to stay on topic because we got a little bit longer because of the whole dog thing. Now, I want to show you this, okay? This is what the gates of heaven looks like. This occurred on, this is what I call this image. It occurred on November 11th in the West, okay? In Russia, it was on November 12th of 2018. So you see here how you have these bulbs of energy, right? But you see that it's much further down on the chart, right? Because I'll make it about the size here. So it's more like in this area. So now in our reality, we're getting the bulbs here. I'm going to go into this more in another video, but I just want to show you like that this energy is very expanded. I consider this to be like an arm of the gates of heaven. This is the image that occurred on the Schumann chart when the world rang like a bell on November 11th, 2018. Okay, so this is a potent image. It's a, you know, when the world rings like a bell, right? If you generate a harmonic, like I used to play the violin, okay, and harmonics are like, it's like a step above. It's not a normal note. It's you just sort of hover your finger over the string and you draw the bow, and this incredible like heavenly sound occurs. And there's a harmonic on the violin for each string. And it's an expanded state. It has a quality of being otherworldly in a way that embodies divinity, that embodies celestial energies. And that's what I see here, okay? It's like one of these, and then it just expanded. And we are choosing to align with it by waking up, by using our observation. Okay, that's all the brainwave hertz right around in here, and then taking it forward, right? We start thinking, and then not only, here's the lines in low hertz lit up on the horizontal, okay? But not only that, but then we take it all the way into the mid hertz, almost high hertz, and we're really getting complex thoughts here that we're integrating and that are coming from the divinity within us, really seeing what is the world around us about from the divinity within us. And that's where the truth is. The truth is in my view, the truth for me is whatever comes from that divine place within. And it guides me. And I'm not talking about thoughts or emotions. I'm talking about that harmonic that I can achieve in my human form. And I achieve that human form. I generate that human harmonic by drawing the bow across with my finger slightly elevated across the string. And what is that in the human world as the children now show up, okay? I just love it's just gorgeous. I mean, in this kind of energy, what would you expect but amazing coincidences, because those are of divinity. So to generate that harmonic in the human form, what do? I draw the bow across. I allow my heart to lift, but not just my heart, the soul connection within my heart. I take a leap of faith and I allow that to be present in my physical form, and I connect in that moment with the divine, and I know what the truth is. Okay, it's also our conscience, it's our gut feel, our intuition, that sense beyond words, that sense beyond emotion. A lot of times it feels like not even any feeling. A lot of times it's just a feeling of like this clarity, this space that comes with this awe. And awe, not an emotion. awe, just like this lifted up, amazing presence in our field. And I think that's what we are experiencing here. And it's just beautiful. And so this harmonic, that ring, right? If you could imagine it expanded across the hertz, that's what I want to do. Hold on. This is a little longer, going a little longer now than I expected. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, see that? Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what's being created here. Okay, and now here the dog is happy. Okay, he's up there playing. He's playing with some kids. Okay, so isn't that amazing? That's what I'm saying. Like, this I would say is like imperfection, right? It's from when the day the earth rang like a bell. And here we are reaching to that expanded state, that divinity, attempting to connect, to embody that inside the human form, not when we're dead, okay? Not, passing on as a soul. Although, sure, let's do that too, okay? If that's your soul path, that's what I would like to do if I'm not in human form. But for now, I am loving being in human form. Why? Because I get to try and do this in my body. I mean, this is like the Wild West. Like, where is the adventure? Like, it's not in space, okay? From my perspective, sure, space is interesting. The adventure is to take the human body and expand the frequency, expand the dimensional state, not just the frequency, okay? Because frequencies are in ranges, right? As we can see here on the black chart, frequencies are in ranges. But to actually expand the state of being, that's where the juice is. That's where the moment is at this moment, right? At this moment, you make the choice. Do I go with the lower? Do I contract back to this lower state? Or do I attempt to emulate the divine? Okay, do I attempt to bring that into human form? Okay, because I view the Schumann resonance as representative of the map of human consciousness and the state of humanity. There's 7.7 billion of us generating EM fields, electromagnetic fields from our bodies. We are an incredible creative force, okay? And I'm gonna address that as soon as I talk about the black charts. And I do want to mention, see the obvious cross right here? That's going to come into play in a second. All right, so in the frequencies, just really quickly, I highlighted where the range of the wave is on the chart, and you can see here that the wave doesn't really affect the green. In my view, this is the human. Okay, in fact, we've moved lower now. We're below 25.2, which is, in my view, a protective range, and I've explained on many other videos why. I want to stick to the topic at hand here, but you can see that the ranges in white, yellow, and especially red, and especially red and yellow, were much more contracted. Okay, actually, all of these were contracted. I don't want to explain that right now, but it has to do with the key on the side. All of these were contracted, and then you can see how the wave comes in and it creates really big movement within the frequency range. So what that says to me is, as human beings, this is affecting our red, okay, our experience of the red, which is, in my view, the dense emotions, the shadow side of the personality, the dark forces on earth. We're like making observations, observing our conclusions. We're integrating those things. Same with the astral. Okay, this can also be our thoughts and emotions. It can be our hopes and dreams. It can be non-physical experiences. It can be ghosts. It can be non-physical entities close to the human form, but not in a low density. Those would be in red. And then here we have the celestial, okay, moving with all of this, having our back, right, with protection. So as all of these forces in the non-physical or in lower states of dimension are raised up by the wave coming through, right, we are seeing them, and we're seeing them from a protected place below 25.2. The energies in the amplitudes are very strong, okay? We're at 49 here, which is a peak for recent weeks in the chart for the white resonance, but look here. We've got 41 in green, and this is very unusual for green to be at almost the same peak level as white. So white and green are highlighted here, okay? So the action in the frequencies is in white, yellow, and red, but in the strength, it's green and white. And this is what I'm saying. That humanity is in a very strong position here, much stronger than is communicated on the nightly news. So don't be fooled. Stay centered. Make your choices. Align with the divinity within you if that's your choice. Okay? If it's not, I honor your choice. I honor whatever your choices are, because as human beings, we have free will, and no human and no non-human can change that. That's between us and the Creator, and that's it. And no one can take that from you except for you, okay? It doesn't matter what you put in your arm, okay? It doesn't matter what choices you made yesterday. Today is a new day. This moment is a new moment. You can make a new choice. Just request a reconnection with the divine. I just put an article on my Substack. I will go below and link that when I publish this. I explained where I was in a state very affected. I would say I was in this yellow and red state at a certain point in my life where I was very affected, and in a much lower place energetically. And I explained how I reconnected. All of us can do that in any moment. Any human being with a living soul, a living human being, organic human being with a living soul, it's between you and the Creator. No one else can control you around your free will choice unless you give that control away. Like I said, it doesn't matter what's in your body. And you know what's been occurring to me lately, and what I've been remembering. Do you remember on Star Trek? Let's see, it was Star Trek Next Generation, okay? And they captured the Borg lady from the Borg collective. The Borg was the was the transhumanist collective. It was the physical organic life forms, and for whatever reason they were all human, and they were all linked, right? Do you ever remember that? Like none of the Borgs were Klingons, or they were for some reason all human. What was that about? Anyway, so they were all linked by technology, right? And the technology appeared to be, it had control over their humanity. Did it, right? Because if you remember, there was one episode where they had names for like levels of their collective, and there was a space zero in this episode. And what happened was seven of nine was the Borg that lived on the ship, and she began to realize that as a member of the Borg collective, when she was sleeping and dreaming, that she had another life in space zero. Okay, so the divinity in her human body, all right, the divinity prevailed and created a space where all of the humans had free will. They lived a free life. Isn't that fascinating? So even in that dystopian environment, right, we have the hint. We have the hint from that story that no, the divinity within humanity cannot be defeated, because it is divinity, right? All right, so let's go back to, and we are nowhere near that dystopian environment, and that's why this is the moment, right? This is the moment that we choose to live as free-range human beings, all right, or to live otherwise. And what affects the outcome is between you and the Creator, you and your Creator, and no one else. No one else. I say that with certainty. Okay, now here's the qualities, and it's so amazing. This chart shows so perfectly this concept. The dark rises before the light comes. So the quality would be like the clarity of the frequencies, okay, of the resonances. how close it is to the truth of its essence. The higher the quality, the closer it is to the essence of what it truly is. Okay, it's in form and non-form, it doesn't matter, but the closest to its source level frequency, not frequency. It's frequency. It's source level frequency. Okay. So basically what you see here is you see the red goes up to 27. You see the yellow goes up to 26. So these are strong spikes, relatively speaking, in the qualities for red and yellow. And you see how they spike before the wave. White and the red, which in my view is the denser environment, spikes first. Why? Sorry. I just saw the energy working and I just had to laugh. It feels it sooner. And why does it feel it sooner? Because it's furthest away. And when the light comes in, the greatest chaos happens to the dense environment. And so the dense environment starts vibrating like, holy, what's going on? All right. So a lot of the freak out that you see in the external world, in my view, is, there's a storyline about it attempting to engage humanity in choices. And I have also been talking about that storyline, as have others. But here's a storyline that has not been talked about as much. And that is that these forces are on the edge. Well, actually, this has been talked about, but I'm going to make it about frequency here. That's what I'll add. These forces are on the edge of losing power, right? Maybe a lot of power. Maybe humanity is going to just rise in our natural state. And I don't know how long this is going to take, okay? But so it starts to shake, right? Like when something unknown but big and huge starts to approach you, and you get a sense, right? You get a sense. You have a sixth sense. Well, just because something is of a lower dimensional state doesn't mean it doesn't also have a sixth sense or spiritual guidance. We all do. And that's why I clarify when I talk about guidance, about for myself, or when I'm making suggestions, I suggest to qualify your spiritual guidance as of the highest light. The reason why is because if there's a ghost walking around that wants to give you advice, okay, if there's an entity walking around that's been on Earth, walking around for hundreds of years in the non-physical, and it decides it wants to give you advice and it's not of the highest light, who's to say it knows any better than you, a modern human being, right? With all of this information that we have been gratefully granted in the access to in the modern world. And by the way, I claim my use of technology to expand my world. Okay, I'm not okay with the idea of no technology. I think this is another psyop. I think it's another psyop because my technology allows me to have an amazing expanded audience, right? Reach far more people than I might reach in my little small area here. It allows me to have friends, okay, all over the country and in the world. It allows me to reach people around the world with my thoughts and ideas. It's an incredible blessing, and I claim this, and I claim the ability to continue using this in my highest good as a living human being. And I ask the force of the divine through me to assist in creating this in alignment with my highest good and protecting my access to it, because I do not consent to attacks on that, okay, that are not in alignment with my highest good. And all of you can make similar statements if you want, and that's how you defeat a cyber attack that's not in alignment with the highest good. You bring the divinity into the technology. You bring your divine statements online, your divine connection, okay? And you say what you would you like to create, but then it works when you give it to God, okay? It's the humbleness of saying, to the Creator, literally. As a living human being, this is what I feel would be best in my life. This is what I want for myself. But then you give it to Him. You give it to it, okay, to her. You give it to the Divine Mother. And say, I know that in the grand scheme, you know what is in the highest good for me. And what is that? Peak quality experiences, as close to the divinity that I can manifest on earth as possible. Super high qualities. That's what I guess that's why I'm talking about this while we're on the quality page. You see, because when you align with that expanded state, right? You're creating a quality experience. Now I'm using layperson terms, but I'm also combining two points of view here of the living human world and of an expanded dimensional state of energy that I don't know if it's reflected on this, except for it sure looks like it's reflected today. Now let's get to the magic. Look at this. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to show you before we get to the magic. Okay, number one, you can see here that there were super high geomagnetics in the atmosphere at the time that this was created. And so they started at 7 a.m. on the 7th, 7 a.m. on the 5th. So 7 a.m. on the 5th is here. Okay, so they came in here, okay, and really kind of cleared out the environment, raised up the red and the yellow prior to, that's what it looks like. The geomagnetics raised up in the atmosphere, help clear up and raise up the yellow and the red in the non-physical, and probably in the physical, because we have certain situations going on in the world prior to this wave of light coming in. Okay, and then now I just wanted to talk about this. You see the negative solar flare here, the sucking in. So the thing is that there's this chart uses the NOAA satellites, and so there's a thing that happens where it's like a Earth retrograde experience from the satellite point of view, if you were to compare it with astrology and how certain planets at certain times appear to retrograde or move backward from the Earth perspective. That's what happens for, I think it was 72 minutes a day, seasonally now in March. But what I would say here is that this is what this has looked like. If you go back to if you go back to 2019, okay, I actually looked at this today, but I don't want to bring it up. This is what this looked like. In 2019, it looked like this, okay? And now it looks like, okay? So even though this is an effect of seasonally of the satellites and an Earth retrograde essentially effect where the satellite cannot perceive the sun energy as strongly, okay? What I'm saying to you is that there is something more than a seasonal effect going on here and with the sun as well, because this is not what the pattern typically looked like. It typically looked much more like this, okay? So I'm just going to point that out at the moment. All right, now let's see the magic. Ta-da! Look what happens when you mirror the wave, right? It's incredible. Now look at this. Look at this incredible image. What does it look like? It looks like an Orthodox church. All right, you've got the bulbous rooftops. You've got the cross with several lines across it, which is a Russian Orthodox cross, or even a Greek Orthodox, I believe, has that as well. Let me show you a couple of examples. Here's the cross that I'm referring to. The additional lines are said to be, right, this is where Jesus' arms were. His head was just right below here. This had the sign that said in INR I think Inri up here, and this is where his feet were, okay? So that's the meaning of these crosses. But I did an article and video on the Schumann cross, and the article has even more detailed information talking about potential meanings of these and then comparing it with the brainwave charts, correlations from the Schumann resonance. This is the Church of Mary Magdalene in Jerusalem. Gosh, isn't this incredibly beautiful? I mean, it's stunning. And look at this. Okay. Do you see the similarities, right? You've got the cross with the horizontal bars and the incredible, onion-shaped dome here. And look at this incredible blue and gold colors, reminiscent of certain colors that are involved in the crises in the news. And I would say that there's a disrespect of these colors somehow going on, and I don't know how that is. And, like I said, I don't know what's true, but if this is the colors of the Church of Mary Magdalene, then you can assume that there's an attempt of the dark forces to disrespect it somehow. I don't know what the details of that are. And this, I believe, is what you see here. You see the cross, you see the towers of the church here, you see the bulbous shape. It's incredible. You see the horizontal lines, and even you see additional ones up here. Now you see this sort of demonic entity attempting to fly around it, but guess what? God wins. It's just so powerful. I call this a reverse chart, by the way. It's also mirroring. Now, who are the forces of darkness? It's right here. It's these forces, this archonic energy and this sort of wispy red energy. And can you see here how this is almost two different realities, right? Let me make it a little bigger because I know so here's your two realities, right? You've got this incredible, like the best possible, right, experience. And by that, what I mean is full connection with the divine. That's what I'm saying that this image represents. It represents a church, a cross, the Christ light coming through all of that, the white resonance. This is my view, okay? And of course, the demonic is upside down. I'm gonna turn them right side up. Okay, so, and I'm gonna make them a little smaller because, whoa! Look at them freaking out. Okay, so basically, it's like, do you see how this is a completely different energy environment, a completely different state of being than existing like this? And as human beings, we have a choice of one or both, right, energies. And as human beings, how can you affect the world around you, right? There's all this stuff going on in the news. And here's how I'll just share with you how I approach it, and then you can decide, you can decide what you do in your life, but I want to share what I do. If I can see if there's anything in me that resonates with this lower, denser energy, where there's actions I'm doing or not doing that are not in alignment with my highest good. Are there emotions that I'm generating, maybe in an unconscious way, that produces energy that's aligned with this? Is it excess fear? Is it excess anger? Of course, those emotions are human emotions. They're valid and real, okay? And they show me things. So as a human, I love having the capability to be angry or afraid. It helps me set boundaries. It helps me realize when I might be in danger or needing to make a different choice. Okay, so my emotions inform me. But if I've been tricked into a loop of generating this over and over in my field for no apparent reason, right? That there's no real reason in my life. Everything in my life is fine until I turn on the news. And then now suddenly everything in my life, I'm being told, is different. Keep in mind your creative ability, okay? This is the time. You are here for this time, okay? I'm not saying to contribute your light to the external world. I'm saying to affect that change within, because it's doing that is the like the Paul Revere, right, of that time, the guy who said, I see something, I'm going to get my lamp, light it. I don't know if this is what happened, but get on my horse, ride around in the darkness, lighting, as much as I can, and call out to people. I'm going to take action. Okay. Well, if you have an understanding of energy, of prayer, of meditation, that kind of action in the world is comparable to doing this right now in your human body, in your human energy field, in your human life, with your relationship with yourself, with your relationship with your family, with your relationship with, yourself to your home and those in your home. Okay? This is where the work is. This is where the change occurs. This is your moment.